Next, we have the Divas Championship. Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. And, oh my god. Never thought I'd say this, but Becky versus Charlotte was easily the most compelling feud leading up to this pay-per-view. And I don't even mean that as a criticism towards the other feuds, which, as you could tell, I was mostly positive towards. But no, I thought this was a genuinely well done storyline. I thought Charlotte was excellent as the heel. She's so much more compelling when she's supposed to be this complete bitch. When she's trying to be, the heroic, nice babyface, it just felt so forced and awkward. But when she is the villain, she shines. You love to hate her. You want to see her get her ass kicked. And Becky really works well as the underdog who constantly keeps getting screwed over. She's almost like the Daniel Bryan of the Divas division. She was very sympathetic, and both are exceptional performers in the ring, and so the matches they've had together have been really good. But otherwise, I just loved how, when Charlotte finally turned heel, I thought that was brilliantly well done. I thought Becky's rage at her betrayal felt genuine and made me really excited to see them finally clash. I thought Ric Flair has been used very well in this story because they are using him, but at the same time, I don't really feel like he's taking the spotlight away from the Divas. It's just the perfect balance. So I've enjoyed all of their promos. Just everything about this was really good. And this match I was really excited to see. And it was really good. It had a balance of strength. That surprised me the most because both Charlotte and Becky at times show their physical strength, which you don't see a whole lot in Divas matches. But I was impressed. Speed, athleticism, technique, grace, it had it all. It was nicely paced. It told a good story in the ring, and then it totally fucked up the ending. First off, I thought Ric Flair stealing a kiss, that was a little tasteless, but I could have been okay with that if maybe Becky's attack on him felt more, I don't know, intense. I don't know, whenever I see a female wrestler strike a male wrestler, it looks like they're just kind of doing a slap, and I actually want to see them punch. These are supposed to be warriors, and I would have liked it a lot more if Ric Flair was totally knocked down and taken out throughout most of the match. That would have been a better payoff, in my opinion. But what really pissed me off, I wasn't really angry with that, but where I did get angry was when Ric Flair threw his jacket over Becky, and that distracted her, and when she chased him, that's when Charlotte made her successful counterattack and stole the victory. And I did not like this because the whole point of the storyline was Becky was emphasizing how prepared she was. She was ready for whatever dirty trick Ric Flair had planned for her. And then ultimately she wasn't. It made her seem stupid and her promises hollow. So now I do not sympathize with her quite as much. In my opinion, it was right that Charlotte won, but I think Charlotte should have won on her own. She could play dirty, that would be perfectly fine, but it would show that she is just as dangerous as her father. I do think that this is going to be a problem for Charlotte eventually because she's mimicking Flair's mannerisms and style so much that you can't help but draw comparisons, and nobody can really top or even match the Nature Boy at being the Nature Boy. And so this, I think, would have been a step towards showing that, yeah, even though Flair is an important part of the story, Charlotte can take care of herself, even if it is using very dirty tactics. So I thought the ending kind of screwed up, but still the match that preceded it was really awesome, and I thought Sasha coming out and challenging Charlotte was also really cool. Fans went crazy for her, and I look forward to that storyline as well. So, that is all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed my review. Please check out my written version, which you can find in the Show More section below. And I shall... Oh, wait, I think I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah, the Royal Rumble's namesake match. So, obviously, this is the most important part of the show, even more so than all the other formal title defenses, because this is what fans are going to take home with them. If it's good, then obviously that means that they will go home happy, and that this show was really, really good. If it is bad, though, it does not matter if all the previous matches were exceptionally awesome, which in this case they were. They will go home feeling disappointed because we watch this primarily for the Rumble itself. So is the 2016 Royal Rumble match good? The short answer is yes. The long answer is it's a little more complicated than that. Before I start talking about the match directly, the story leading into it is pretty much a prime example of what went wrong leading into this pay-per-view event. When Roman Reigns won the title the night after TLC, it was a great moment. Very emotional, the perfect catharsis for the storyline. And, I was excited. Everybody was behind him. It was awesome. And I loved watching his confrontations with Stephanie because, she would try to verbally emasculate him while he would just, take the piss out of her. He would out-talk her, for better or worse. He'd just kind of troll her, and it was obvious it was working. And I loved it. I thought it was very satisfying watching Stephanie in this humiliating position. And then when they brought Vince back, it was like, oh shit, it's going to get real. I loved the build-up to his return. I loved how important it felt, how you really felt like the difficulty level was increasing substantially. When he arrives, like the crew members are all afraid of him. He's intense, angry. Considering the last few times Vince has been on TV, and I thought he seemed a little... listless, like he wasn't very energized, like he looked maybe a little unhealthy. He seemed like he was in great shape here, a fine return to form. And, his confrontations with Roman Reigns were awesome because it felt like a back and forth thing. Neither of them were really getting over the other. But still, it was really compelling watching Roman Reigns outsmart Vince, survive, defeat Sheamus. And even though Sheamus is not particularly an interesting personality, I thought he worked well as a piece in this puzzle. And then it just seemed like it started falling apart. It seemed like Vince suddenly became a goofball who we were supposed to laugh at. Now, this has worked in the past, but I think here it would have been better if Vince continuously just remained threatening and sinister. Don't do the shit where he gets taken to prison. That was very forced. In fact, that was kind of the beginning of the end for the storyline for me. Then with Roman Reigns, the problem with him was they did this thing where it was one versus all, him versus the majority of the heels on the roster. Okay, that's fine in theory. But then Roman Reigns gets his ass kicked. And he's just not a convincing underdog, and that's the problem. Fans love a good underdog story. It worked with Daniel Bryan. It worked with Sami Zayn. But those guys are convincing as underdogs. The reason why Cena has such a polarizing reputation is because WWE keeps trying to do the same thing with him, even though Cena wins the majority of his matches. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Roman Reigns might not be presented as the invincible hero that Cena was, but his persona is much more badass. He has too much physical presence to really be a true underdog. So when he loses, we just think, well, he obviously wasn't as badass as we thought he was. And then Brock Lesnar comes and accomplishes or succeeds where Roman Reigns had failed. So that just means Brock Lesnar was the ultra badass that we wanted Roman Reigns to be. So now our allegiance kind of shifts to Lesnar. And that is a problem. And that's just a reminder as to why the WWE is sort of out of touch with its audience. It doesn't understand what they want. Right now, we want badasses like Brock Lesnar, and for a while, that's when Roman Reigns got over as part of the Shield. It was because he was that badass, and when he actually won back his detractors at TLC, it was because when he destroyed everybody after the match, that he was the badass that we wanted him to be. And so now they're just making him too vulnerable, and it's just not working. And then afterwards, they try to make up with their mistake by having him actually beat up Brock Lesnar, and that made no sense. And it just felt phony because Lesnar was selling way too much. And so we just didn't like it, and that forced us to make a choice, and we chose to stick with Lesnar. Therefore, the fans started turning on Roman Reigns after he had, repaired his image so well. Another thing, the storyline just kind of fumbled. Like, okay, putting the World Heavyweight Championship on the line here is cool. I wasn't entirely sure that I liked it, but it makes the match even more important, and it's something that hasn't really been done before. So I'm intrigued. But then, it seemed like it took way too long before they established that he would be entry number 1. They should have done that relatively early. So there were a lot of problems going into this, and unfortunately, when Roman Reigns made his debut as the number 1 entrant, fans rejected him. He got booed mercilessly, and it was awkward. Now, to be fair, for all the problems that Roman Reigns went through leading into this, I don't think that was the main reason. I think that this crowd was just unusually hostile. They booed a lot of other popular baby faces for absolutely no reason. So I think that they were just kind of trolling the performers. So I wouldn't look too deeply into it. It just comes down to, will this catch on again? I have not seen this last Raw after the pay-per-view, so I don't know if Roman Reigns is still getting boos, or if fans are still loving him like they did prior to the Rumble. I don't know, but so that obviously is going to make certain aspects of this match very awkward to watch.